friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so we gotta wait to see if the tubes are working on this lovely, lovely Friday. Before we jump into the day, we've got to make sure that our interwebs are connected, and it looks like they are. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started as soon as I press F11 here and open focus mode, and then also cue that up there. And we're still waiting for tubes to connect themselves, not on your end, on my end. And we want to close up some of these nodes, you know, before we get into it. And now they're closed, so let's do it, my friends, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about a judicial complaint coming out courtesy of Representative Elise Stefanik. She sent one in about this judge, and her name is Beryl Howell, and she has been a District of Columbia Circuit Court judge for quite some time. In fact, she was the former chief judge there up until about 2023, and she's responsible for a bunch of January 6 cases. And we've heard a lot from her, and we don't like her opinions here because they feel like they are partisan and, you know, unconstitutional. But we're going to go through this complaint. Elise Stefanik has had enough of it because what happened is Judge Beryl, this woman right here, was palling around at this gala, okay, this women's White Collar Defense Association gala, and look who was there. Oh, it's Lisa Monaco, the deputy AG, who is currently prosecuting Trump with Merrick Garland and the special counsel's office. And we also know that there were other people there. And what happened was Judge Beryl took the stage, took to the podium, got an award, and then laced into, you know, the things that she says are so problematic in America. So we'll listen to what she says about it. We'll listen, you know, we will listen to a little bit of it, but we'll get through it. And we're going to go through all that because it's a fun letter and a complaint that obviously has some merit to it. So we'll see what it says. Then we're going to jump over to see what's happening with Big Fani in Georgia. And Fani promised us justice. Insurrectionists almost insurrected Georgia with a RICO case now being prosecuted, now being brought against Trump and a bunch of other co-defendants. Well, some of those people took guilty pleas. And when we were here making fun of those guilty pleas, okay, because they were diversion pleas, which means that they're going to be dismissed, which means that they didn't actually take guilty pleas. They went through guilty plea proceedings, and those proceedings, the guilty plea is going to be held in abeyance and then dismissed. Okay, so they're not convicted of anything. They didn't plead guilty to anything. They went through a proceeding, which was then held in abeyance. All right, so we've already talked about that. Now, a lot of people out there on the X and elsewhere said, Rob, what kind of a lawyer are you? How dare you say something like that? And I said, well, it's because that's what the documents say, first of all. But I said this was a joke. They were making these plea deals because Fani has nothing. And they said in response to me, they got apology letters, okay? That's why we know Fani was successful by getting Sidney, Powell, and Kenneth, Chesebro, and others to plead guilty because she got apology letters. They were very remorseful. You know what? They were one sentence. Two of them were one sentence long, okay? That's Sidney Powell's apology letter. I apologize for my actions in connection with the events in Coffee County. Sidney Powell, have a nice day. All right. So as I expected, right, even Fani is sitting there. Fani's like, all right, I guess we'll take it. And so they're not happy about it. Of course, Fani showed up on a podcast and she got asked some questions about the Trump trial case. And the Trump trial case, she doesn't really want to talk about. So we're going to listen to this podcast. I have it queued up. And we'll see what she says about it. It is interesting. She really doesn't sound like she wants to talk about this Trump prosecution, which I don't blame her. She doesn't have a good case. Why would she want to talk about it? But we'll see what she says. Then we'll turn over to this guy. Remember him? His name's Bill Kristol. He's like, SCOTUS isn't going to save us from Trump. We're all going to die. And we'll listen to what Kristol says. And then this woman came out and said, you know what Jack Smith's doing now is actually brilliant. This is all like 5-dimensional chess. She thinks he's Donald Trump or something. And that this is all working out great. So we'll see what she says about it. And then Jen Psaki is still in meltdown mode over on MSNBC. And she's saying, she brought a guest on that says Trump's going to turn off the internet, which would be a big problem here for us if that happens. So we'll see what Psaki is hyperventilating about. Before we turn our attention over to the third segment on the day, my friends, you remember Stinky Eric Swalwell, the man who made Bang Bang with Fang Fang a Chinese spy. Well, he was colluding with Hunty Poo. You see him right there, okay? Look at him. He's watching over him like a little keeper. Very curious. Now, you know what that, Bang Bang with Fang Fang, that Chinese spy, we know Hunter also had CEFC connections with the Chinese energy conglomerate, so we don't know what's going on there. But very curious. Now, Swalwell basically is admitting this, right? So the story came out. Swalwell, there he was. He set up the whole ordeal. He was the one who was, or I guess, orchestrating the whole thing. He made a little bit of a press conference briefing. He says, you know, the reason why this is so important to me is because Joe Biden loves his son. All right, so we'll see what he says. Then we've got Biden. He actually put out a statement. We'll breeze through it. Ian Sam says what these Republicans are doing, attacking Joe, is frightening behavior. Lesley Wolf, we got the final story. She is leaving the DOJ, as we saw, so we'll just hit that blurb. Comer is admitting, Comer says, you know what? He woke up. He's like, you know what happened here? Hunter gave us the finger, the middle finger. And I watched this clip and I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did that. Like 3 days ago. All right. So anyways, Comer's coming around. Now, Jason Smith says they're going to be held accountable. And this Democrat, man, you know, I kind of appreciate what he's saying here, even though I fully endorse Joe Biden for the Democratic primary for president. Okay. Obviously, I think he's got a lot of energy left in him. Looking forward to seeing him up there against Trump. But this guy has an interesting thing. He's saying, look, hey, Democrats, dum-dums, you're all going to lose if you keep sticking around with this guy, because there is a lot here. Okay. Hunter just got indicted. Nobody likes Joe Biden, and this crime family is now being exposed for what they are. So we're going to go through it and see what is lined up on the day. As you can see, my friends, this morning on our members only stream, we already did a stream this morning and it was a lot of fun. We talked about these two issues, these two stories. Newsom freezing office supplies. Okay, like if you're a government employee in California, you're out of staplers. Oh, if you want any more sticky notes, you better have a pretty dang good reason there in California if you're a government employee over there. I'm sure there's very good people who work for the government who listen to this show. Thanks for listening, by the way. We actually have a ton of people who listen from California. I love you. I'm sorry that you're there. But apparently, if you work for the government there, yeah, no more highlighters for you. They've got a $68 billion deficit. And so we read through the order today, and it was hilarious. They're like, if you even want one single Sharpie, you better get permission from your boss, and your boss has to sign off on it too. And then I'm going to take it, and the governor needs to sign off on it, okay? They are friggin' broke. So it's hilarious. And I hope, hope they figure out what they're doing over there. It's a beautiful state, physically, geographically, they've wrecked it. Angers me. Anyways, we also talked about another problem here at the border, which is DHS. We read through a 2017 report that Border Patrol, they published it, and the whole thing was very redacted, and we couldn't see a lot of stuff, but we could glean some stuff in it. We read through it. And they were saying border walls work every sector. They're like, this sector, 25-A-2, this is in Tucson, border wall would be a good idea. Over here in San Diego, border wall would be a nice concept. And so we read through that. It's obviously, the only way to secure the border. They know that. Joe Biden knows that. Mayorkas knows that. But nobody wants to do anything about it because it serves their end. So we talked about that this morning. On our members only stream, we had some fun there reading that California stuff. What a dump. Anyways, here we did that this morning at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you want to join us, we'd love to have you. We do Saturday shows for our membos. We try to really deliver for our membos and have some fun. We're working on some really cool stuff right now that we'll be sharing soon. And if you join us on YouTube, you can also grab the private Telegram group link to join us for the after party. So as soon as we're done here with this live stream, we're going to have a live after party at watchingthewatchers.locals.com and on Telegram. We also have got our new shop, my friends. And we're getting a little close to Christmas, so if you want anything, you're probably coming up on a deadline here. Definitely for the sandals, because those are, those take a little bit while to get and generate and send. But the other stuff, man, this is all available at robertgovea.com/shop. And we're excited. People are ordering this stuff. I'm seeing these deprivation of rights shirts go out. It's awesome. I love the idea that there's going to be more of us wearing this shirt showing this code so more people can ask us about it. What does deprivation of rights mean? What does this code mean? Tell them deprivation of rights. That's what our government is doing to us every day. Ungovernable is another good one going out. We've got the Hillary Clinton and the flip-flopping Joe Biden sandals are out. Man, these are nice quality sandals, and they're very fun. You can see we put in little Bill Clinton poking around on the sandals, and they're very fun. They turn out high quality. I mean, this is what they look like. You can see, the resolution's pretty good on them. I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. Went through a bunch of different suppliers. There's Bill up here. Anyways, people are buying them, and I love it. So thank you for liking them as much as I do. I have a lot of them around the house here. So anyways, I thought they're hilarious. So check those out. robertgovea.com/shop. All right. Now, let's get in to the show, my friends, because we've got some business to attend to. And by the way, when you go to the shop, right, you're really supporting the work we do here. You're getting something cool, and hopefully you're having a little bit of fun too. So thanks for doing that. All right. Now, let's get to it. January 6th Judge Beryl Howell receives a judicial complaint from Representative Elise Stefanik. Seen here, she's very unhappy with something that happened recently. Miss Beryl, the judge, she was attending the WWCDA, the Women White Collar Defense Association. I almost said white women. That would have been a problem, even though there are white women there. Now, Women White Collar Defense Association. The Honorable Beryl Howell, U.S. District Court Judge for the District of Columbia. And we paid a lot of attention to this judge because she was the former Chief Judge for Washington, D.C., the D.C. Circuit Court. And they are responsible for the January 6 prosecutions and a lot of the different interpretations of the cases being brought against the J6ers. And so we've been following her for quite some time. She was the chief judge up until 2023. She no longer is the chief judge. She was there at this event with Lisa Monaco. We talk a lot about her as the person who's probably really pulling the strings there in the Biden DOJ. She's the deputy AG, and she was there also receiving an award, right? Very excited to both get to the honorees, the champion award. Both of these two ladies got it. Now, what's interesting about this is the judge has some pretty unhappy opinions with Donald Trump. And so she spoke about this in this press briefing, in this award ceremony. We're going to listen to what she says here. Other people were there. You can see Lisa Monaco, very curious. The deputy AG taking a picture with this guy. You remember him? Oh, yeah. Rod Rosenstein, former Trump deputy attorney general, showed up there as well, right? So Trump people are also hanging out. And if you're a former deputy AG, right, you're pals for life, man. You are like you were like bros for life, even if, you don't identify as a bro. The point is, as I always talk about, is these are institutionalist type of people. Okay, they are DOJ first rather than anything else. And so if anybody's going to come in to challenge them, right, they're always going to circle up to protect the institution. So this is the event that they were at. You can see there were a bunch of other people there, couple photographs. Well, this is Rod Rosenstein, just as a reminder. Trump nominated him there, right? Now, I don't know what he's doing there or whatever. We're going to listen to the people in the room, okay, who are also there, people like Loretta Lynch and others, the Obama AG. Okay, not a lot of right-sided people are in the room. This is the actual landing page for the gala. You see here, champions in white-collar law. It says, thank you for joining another spectacular celebration. See the photo gallery. Lisa Monaco was there. Patricia Holmes was there. We had some other attendees. Look at this one. Loretta Lynch. Oh, isn't that nice? Loretta Lynch was there, and she was honored as the recipient of another champion award, right? So Loretta Lynch is there. Judge Beryl Howell is there. We've got the Lisa Monaco is there. She served under Obama and Clinton. So it's kind of like a little cocktail party for people who hate Trump, right? And they do some other good stuff, no doubt about it, but they just happen to have that one thing in common. And I don't know anything about these any other people. But some nice headlines there from some people who are kind of involved in a lot of the things we talk about. They're all hanging out in Washington. And we make fun of these people going to these events. And by the way, I like social events and hanging around and mingling around and talking about the latest affairs, right? I go to the group events and I attend these different seminars and these retreats and all that. I think it's good. It's good to hang out. But it's also interesting to see what they're doing. And this is what they're doing. So Rod Rosenstein was there, and there is more. We're going to hear from the judge herself because she spoke, and Ms. Stefanik is unhappy about what she said, rightfully so. And this is the letter that we'll attend to first. This is what Representative Stefanik posted on the X platform. She says, guess what, America? Coming from her personal account, not from her representative account. Okay, so she makes a distinction here. She's filing this as an independent citizen. She says, I filed a complaint of judicial misconduct against Judge Beryl Howell because election interference by judges destroys public confidence in the federal judiciary, tears apart the fabric of our republic, and is illegal. It must end now. D.C. Obama Judge Beryl Howell, gave a highly inappropriate speech that we'll listen to, in which she insinuated that the election of President Trump will lead to fascism in America. And she's still on the bench. She also inappropriately allowed a public display of her cozy personal relationship with her partisan friends who actually appear before her, like Lisa Monaco, which we'll see the photos, including the Biden Deputy Attorney General, Lisa, who supervises the January 6 criminal prosecutions, which are taking place in Judge Beryl Howell's courtroom. Isn't that nice? And so shout out to Ms. Stefanik, who has submitted this. We'll read through the full thing. The whole thing is on the X platform. If you want to read through this, you'll see she did some nice work on this and actually cited her sources. And so let's go to the document. Elise Stefanik, writing as a private citizen from her P.O. box in New York, sends this judicial complaint to the Judicial Council for the District of Columbia. She says, all right, guess what? I have a complaint of judicial misconduct against Judge Beryl Howell, who's on the bench in D.C. and who presides over January 6 cases and who is attending a women's gala talking trash. Says, Dear Chief Judge Srinivasan, he, I believe, is the Chief Judge, the United States Court of Appeals. He is at the office of the Circuit Executive. He is Judicial Counsel and apparently a judge. Says, Dear Chief Judge, I write today, this is Representative Elise Stefanik speaking, to express my serious concerns about and request an ethics investigation of Judge Beryl Howell. Why? For her highly inappropriate political speech that she gave last month, at which she suggested that re-electing President Trump will lead to fascism in America. Now, as outlined below, Judge Howell's partisan speech that she just gave is obviously highly inappropriate election interference by a federal judge. And that undermines the public's trust in our courts. Now, the public display of the cozy relationship between this judge and her other partisan friends who were in the room, who appear before her literally in her courtroom, undermines public trust and judicial independence, which we have thrown out the window a long time ago, especially in D.C. Says that also violates judicial canons. And if you want to know what that says, Canon 2B, here is the link for you. It says that Judge Beryl Howell, a judge, should neither lend the prestige of a judicial office to advance the private interests of the judge or others, nor convey or permit others to convey the impression that they are in a special position to influence the judge. Comes from a guide to judicial policy. And you can look that up at uscourts.gov/the link. Don't go and as a judge speak on issues that are outside your judicial role, that advance the private interests of the judge or even others. And don't allow others to come in and use your robe as an endorsement of their beliefs. Says, but Judge Howell apparently didn't get the memo. Maybe she's friends with Areola Engeron, who also doesn't really care about the rules. Says Judge Howell, after becoming the chief judge in the district court back in 2016, and before stepping down in March 2023, okay, so she was there for a long time, she supervised the D.C. grand jury and other legal proceedings against Donald Trump. She was the judge who started the whole thing, right? The grand jury proceedings, supervised it all as the chief judge. Now, prosecuted Trump, his top aides, and his supporters on January 6. Now, Judge Howell also supervised the discredited Mueller probe that also substantially interfered with Trump's presidency back then. And along with then Chief Judge Howell, her supervision of Jack Smith's investigation that now has resulted in 2 unprecedented and highly controversial indictments of a former president of the United States and the leading presidential candidate for 2024. That's a nice list, isn't that? A nice resume for a federal judge in D.C. Man, she's been on a warpath for a long time. Mueller, yeah, it's good. I'll help you with that one. That's good. Jack Smith, yeah, working on that one too. No problem at all. All the J6 proceedings, sure, go get them all. 3 for 3, man. She just rubber stamps everything. Has enough of it, then steps back once the work has been done. Now she's no longer the chief presiding judge. Got it. They tell us that on November 27th, Judge Howell and current Biden Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, who we've talked a lot about here as the person who's probably really pulling the strings at the DOJ, because Merrick Garland doesn't have a lot of, fortitude to do much other than go out there and give speeches, says that the Biden Justice Department official, this is Lisa, ultimately supervises federal prosecutors in their J6 cases. She is the deputy AG. She's the henchman for the Biden administration. Together received the Champion Award along with the judge. Would these two get a room? Oh my gosh. Congratulations, Lisa. Same to you, Judge. Ah, great. Now, they were at the Women's White Collar Defense Association Gala, and I watched some of it. It's pretty, it's about what you'd expect. I'm not going to play those parts. We'll just watch the judge. But former Obama Attorney General was also there. Guess who was in the room? Loretta Lynch, Obama's number 2. Former Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch, when it wasn't Eric Holder. The Master of Ceremonies and former Obama White House counsel Kathy Rumler was also there. Also introduced both Judge Howell and Monaco. Now, what's interesting about this is she did not include Rod Rosenstein, right? I don't know if she knows that he was there or not. Yeah, but he was also there. Okay, so a bunch of people who you may have questions about were there. So Lynch lauded Rumler's work on Obamacare and DACA, some of the most important policy issues of our time. Loretta Lynch, Obama's person. Rumler discussed how Judge Howell, Lynch, and former Mueller probe of Trump and Chief Deputy Andrew Weissman served together as federal prosecutors. Okay, I think Weissman was also in the room, as we're about to hear. Rumler then discussed how Judge Howell, a former Democrat, chief counsel to then Senate Judiciary Committee Leahy, became President Obama's very first pick to serve the very influential D.C. court. Rumler was speaking there. So Lynch lauded Rumler, and then Rumler came out and discussed Howell, Lynch, and Mueller. Now, they have a quote. They say Rumler then discussed how she appeared before Judge Howell when she provided. So I think this is other background information. So this is not from the event. Yeah, it is actually. This is not watch the full thing, but apparently this is the background from the event. Says this woman came out, Rumler, and says, but I can tell you from my experience that it was extremely rare for any member of the Senate to call the president directly on any judicial nominee. But Leahy called Obama about Beryl Howell, talking about her. And he told President Obama how strongly he felt that she was the perfect person to be a federal judge. Leahy nudges Obama. And boy, was he right about that. Whew, what an incredible mark Judge Howell has made on the bench. I agree, totally. I mean, that was like, I listed 3 things. Like, dang, she's been a wrecking ball for American justice. Said that she presided over. She's also made us all so very proud. Obama, very proud. Nice job, Judge. So then Rummler discussed how she appeared before Judge Howell when she presided over many quite sensitive grand jury proceedings. Rummler said she's a huge admirer of Judge Howell. I'm very fortunate to call her my friend, all from the event at those time codes. Now we're going to listen. We're going to just skip. I mean, it was a long event. Good Lord. It can only take so much of it. But we're going to just fast forward to Judge Howell speaking. Now, emphasizing that they have been very close friends for a long time, more than 20 years, Rummler then helped introduce Monaco. Says, she's quite a powerful person. No doubt about that. She holds a very powerful position called the Deputy AG of the United States. And by the way, this is like a home run for a bunch of liberal DC lawyers in Washington, D.C., right? The, women's white collar, like, these are big people to come speak anywhere, okay? Now, if you're there speaking at your gala, your event, are you kidding me? You get a DC circuit judge and you get the deputy AG and the former deputy and the former AG? Holy moly. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's a nice lineup, man. You're like, dang, how did I get in this room? Like, there's some powerhouses here. And that's all. And the judge, right? And this is a lot. So Rummler then called Monaco her best friend and shared details about their friendship. We love together. We go jogging. No, we don't go jogging. We do yoga. No, we don't do yoga together. No, we don't hike together. We love to text each other and working on the first jury trial together, serving together on the Enron probe. Guess who led that one? Weissman, who's also in the room. They served together as top Obama DOJ officials, and they were also in the Obama White House. Oh, they did take a ski trip. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I believe it if I see it. Says Lynch then praised and presented both Judge Howell and Monaco with their, quote, champion awards. Right. Lynch specifically mentioned the, quote, the perfect storm and the trifecta of issues that Judge Howell handled masterfully. Said that the COVID pandemic closed the world, the January 6th insurrection, and the resulting caseload, which is like a joke. Okay, it's like a joke caseload. It's like 1,000 cases that they haven't been able to figure out in several years. Right. And the flurry of activity spurred by the Office of the Special Counsel all got in front of her at the same time, and she wrecked all of them. Lynch waited for applause. Please applause. She's a hero. She saved America with the J6 caseload and helped enabled Jack Smith, and then also wrecked our trust in the institutions for the pandemic. Now, colleagues and counsel alike speak almost reverently about how she steered the courthouse through the trifecta of issues with grace and with discipline, and her trademark bone-deep commitment to bring justice to every matter before her. Now, it's particularly shocking, goes back to Lisa. I'm sorry, that's Monaco. We're talking now, this is Representative Stefanik. We were just exiting that quote, which was from Lynch introducing Howell and Monaco. So one AG, okay, so Obama's AG praised and presented Howell and Monaco. Thanks for inheriting. Lynch was Obama's person, right? So Obama actually appointed Lynch, and then they installed Howell with Patrick Leahy. And then Obama probably installed Biden, and he installed Monaco. So he's got total control of the DOJ, going after all of his political opponents in America. Well done. So Ms. Stefanik says, it's particularly shocking to hear the former AG of the United States literally praise a sitting judge for her handling of the grand jury proceedings on a pending criminal charge against Trump, her opponent. Now, the pending criminal cases against his J6 supporters, and even make the legal conclusion that there was an insurrection that occurred on J6, despite the fact that even deranged, over-the-top special counsel Jack Smith never even brought those charges against a January 6th defendant, not a single one of them. So why would Loretta Lynch, an AG, say a word, insurrection, that hasn't even been mentioned in court? Never been proven in a court of law. Never been charged in a court of law. Remember that stupid phrase they said back during 2020? Now, it's even more shocking that Judge Howell participated In this highly prejudicial public charade, not even disclaiming any of it. Why? The judicial rules are pretty clear, saying a judge should neither lend the prestige of the judicial office to advance the private interest of the judge, which she's obviously an anti-Trumper, and an anti-MAGA person, anti-anybody who's, I would imagine, not on her side, and others, nor convey or permit others to convey the impression that they're in a special position. Now, it's hard to imagine how any criminal defendant who is coming across Judge Howell's courtroom, how they could possibly expect a fair trial. When one of the key federal judges received a champion award, the judge got a champion award from partisan opponents while their cases are literally pending before her court. It is a show trial travesty of justice. Okay, this is obviously unethical and reprehensible. She's supposed to be a neutral judge. We're going to listen to what she says in a minute. Now, Lynch, Rumler, and Monaco, the senior DOJ official prosecuting the January 6 cases, look at these people. They even huddled together with Judge Howell, who's overseeing the January 6 cases. The senior DOJ official prosecuting the January 6 cases. And Judge Howell, they all huddled and wrapped their arms around each other on the stage. Look at these heroes of American democracy. Oh, yeah. Loretta Lynch, Judge Beryl Howell, and Lisa Monaco. Saying they all stood there with applause, changed positions. The judge is like, hey, let me get over here. This is my good side. Judge Howell's like, oh gosh, I really hate my left. Do you mind if I come over here and let me just change sides? My right side's much better. This is what I use for my judicial portrait. And, you know, the other ladies are like, oh, fine, I guess we'll just sit here. You know, Loretta Lynch is like, I like my left side. She doesn't want to move at all. Right. So they repeated this. There's dramatic music playing. There's applause. Saving us, ladies. And then they repeated this. Monaco got her dumb award. So then Judge Howell began her prepared remarks, and she called Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch, the judge, and Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, who might be that woman, I'm not sure, called her the pantheon of our champion awardees and living heroes in the law. It's incredible. That's amazing. She then told current Biden Deputy Attorney General Monaco that it was an honor to share the stage tonight with Lisa Monaco. You're incredible. Having watched your careers over the years, I've been in awe at how you remain a model of calm and grace while carrying the enormous responsibility for the safety of so many. Not just in your current job, but in your national security role. Gag me. Thank you for all your service to the country and for your being an unshakable force for justice. Now, let's listen to a little bit of this because it's about what you'd expect. All right, we're just going to pull it up. Now, I know, it's probably not what you're, ultra excited about watching, but this is what's happening at these locations with these individuals. And let's get this queued up to the appropriate location. And it is at about an hour 44 when she starts her speaking. And so this is the introduction, just to share what it looks like. What a beautiful award, Loretta Lynch. Oh, what a scene. Get together, get closer together. Yeah, squeeze in there, ladies. Squeeze in there, Loretta. Get in there. Yeah, there you go. Looking gorgeous. Beautiful. Ladies of Liberty. Come on, cameraman. Over. All right, now, just to point that out, okay, that's Lisa Monaco right there. That's Lisa Monaco. That is Judge Beryl Howell. That's Loretta Lynch, Attorney General. And they barely got the photo. He had to get the... Anyways, so he got the photo. They got it. He's like, just keep squeezing in. All right, so they are moving this. Now, here comes the judge. Now, the judge is going to have to listen to music. Ah!
Well, Well, thank you very much, Kathy, and thank you very much, Loretta.
Turn up that mic.
I'm very humbled by your words tonight, and I'm very humbled to receive the Champion Award and to be included in this pantheon of other Champion awardees, like Loretta herself, Sally Yates, who's here, who are all living heroes in the law. It's also an honor to share the stage tonight with Lisa Monaco, who's also receiving the Champion Award tonight. Congratulations, Lisa.
Yeah. See you in
Having
court.
watched your career over the years,
See you in court.
I've been in awe of how you remain a model of calm and grace when carrying enormous responsibility for the safety of so many, not just in your current job,
For trespass
but in
cases.
your prior national security
Nice job.
role. Thank you for all of your service to the country and for being an unshakable force for justice.
Seals.
So this event has always felt like a little bit like a homecoming, since so many of us have crossed professional paths and friendship paths with each other in years past. And so many dear friends from the Eastern District of New York here tonight, from Loretta, Karen, Kirby Heller, Jody Avergan, Andrew Weissman. I too saved him for last.
Andrew Weissman. Remember him? He's the weird dude on MSNBC who every time something bad happens for Jack Smith, he says it's good. You know, and everything that's good for Trump, he says is bad. And he's one of those guys who just says kind of the same thing on repeat over and over again. But they're friends, man. They've been hanging out forever. At Eastern District of New York, it's just all palling around together, right? This is what they do.
For the same reason. And Jody Avergan. I hope I haven't missed anybody. This event is a marvelous opportunity to reconnect with friends and also to meet tomorrow's leaders in the law. Looking around the room at this sold-out event, it really is a marvel to appreciate all that the WWCDA has accomplished to expand diversity and opportunities for women in the white-collar field.
This stuff is pretty important. Now, I know I get mocky with this, but that's impressive, right? They've got a sold-out room. There are a lot of very, very powerful people in that room who control a lot of press, who control a lot of media, who have a ton of money, who can rally donos, right? There is a lot of influence. That's why they got these people showing up, a judge, multiple AGs, even Rod Rosenstein's there. So it is not insignificant, right? This stuff is important. And I wonder if the Republicans have anything even remotely close to this. Doesn't certainly seem like it to me.
Whether serving as prosecutors, defense attorneys, or investigations and compliance counsel, one thing all of us lawyers share is an appreciation of the importance of facts.
Okay.
And that's what I want to spend a few moments to talk about tonight.
Yeah, their version of the facts.
Abraham Lincoln was a litigator before he was a politician, and he understood that facts matter. One story attributed to Lincoln is that when faced with a thorny issue that could have been settled fairly easily with a sophistic language twist or just a slight abuse of power,
he suspended
likened
habeas
this
corpus?
to asking, how many legs does a dog have if you call the tail a leg? And his answer was 4, because calling a tail a leg doesn't make it a leg.
Wow.
We are having a...
Wow, of all the Lincoln quotes, that's the one she got? Okay.
very surprising and downright troubling moment in this country when the very importance of facts is dismissed or ignored. That's a very risky business
What's
for
going to
all
happen?
of us and our democracy.
What are you going to do? Imprison everyone?
The historian Heather Cox Richardson, whose book I've been reading, explains in her new book, which is a bestseller, so many of you may have already read it,
No,
Democracy Awakening.
Democracy
that
Awakening.
burying facts with false history telling is one of the keys to the rise of authoritarianism. As she bluntly puts it, big lies are springboards for authoritarians.
Huh.
She cautions in her book's opening line It's her very first line.
What is it?
America is at a crossroads,
How come?
teetering on the brink of authoritarianism.
Why?
And she echoes this thought in her closing line, that we are at a time of testing, and how it comes out resting, as it always has, is in our own hands. In between those 2 points, in the first line and the last, her book focuses on historical facts to set the record straight.
Facts from this author.
About recreated and imagined conspiratorial retellings of our country's history.
We're almost done.
Recent and long ago. My DC judicial colleagues and I regularly see the impact of big lies
Whoa.
at the sentencing of hundreds of individuals who have been convicted for offense conduct on January 6, 2021.
There it is.
When they
They're in your courtroom, Judge. You're calling them liars before you've even heard their cases? They're still pending cases. So you've seen the consequences of big lies in cases that are not even before you, and you're just bundling them all up. It sounds like you've kind of prejudged some of this there, Judge.
The certification of the 2020 presidential election at the U.S. Capitol. As district court judges, we are all about the facts.
No.
And enforcing the procedural and evidentiary rules to make sure authentic, reliable, and tested facts are brought forward to resolve a case with serious consequences for noncompliance and for not telling the truth.
Yeah, and they imprison people who were not even there on January 6th. Did they talk about that fact? How about the fact that the Proud Boys defense attorneys identified from the defense in the Proud Boys trial alone 50 undercover government informants or related CHSs who were there on January 6th from their own expert witnesses? And why wasn't any of that admitted in trial, Judge, out of a DC Circuit Court? That's curious. Now, that was another court judge, but it's the DC Circuit. So if you're so interested in facts, how come all of the evidence from Homeland Security investigations was not allowed in any of the January 6th trials? Or the ones that we've covered here, at least. They just said, oh, not part of our investigation. You can only talk about the FBI. All the DC judges who supposedly care about the facts left that out. And we could go on and on here, but these people delude themselves, okay? They just come out here. How many times has she said facts? If you were drinking at home when she said that word, you're dead right now. Because they just say it over and over and over again. Like what they're doing with Joe Biden now. There's no evidence, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. There's tons of evidence. Hunter has evidence himself. He said, I'm sitting here next to Daddy. So we've got all sorts of evidence that we'd love to talk about. In fact, there's evidence that's missing, and we still don't hear about it. Almost done. Here she is.
That is what a fair process is all about, and what generally makes for a just outcome. To be sure, stories can be told with different facts emphasized or highlighted or contextualized. That is entirely proper advocacy, and good lawyers are adept at using facts to tell a client's story.
Not when you don't let the evidence in, Judge.
Still, the facts matter. The courts are often looked to as democracy's guardian, but the foundation for that guardianship, to the extent it works, is fair fact-finding with past events recounted based on accurate facts. So as we get to the end of this wonderful evening, let us take a moment.
Finally, gosh.
Just to appreciate how lucky we all are to work in a profession where facts are crucial to what we do for a living.
Oh, you see how amazing these judges are and these lawyers are in Washington, D.C.? Facts are important to them. You know, other people in America who have other jobs, it's just all made up garbage, okay? Dummies. Like electricians and plumbers, you know, and drivers and people out there who are doing other things in America, people who are parenting their children, people who are working in volunteer organizations. They're all just kind of deluded maniacs living in this almost high state, like they're on acid, visualizing the world, like that Jill Biden video almost. And the lawyers in D.C., they can get to the bottom of it thanks to the judge and Attorney General Lisa Monaco. So that's what's going on there, my friends. Now, This is on YouTube and it's getting some views over here. And that's the judge. Okay, that's what it looks like in Washington, D.C. So Representative Elise Stefanik is sending the complaint over to the Judicial Committee, looks like for the Court of Appeals. And we'll see what happens here, if they care at all. If there's any recourse for a judge commenting on active cases that are in front of her involving issues that are actively pending. It's Washington, D.C., so don't hold your breath. But we'll be here, my friends, continuing to cover. Thank you for subscribing to our channel, my friends. Thank you for going over to robertgovea.com to grab some new gear, grab a new hat. It's a great way to support the show. Learn more about the Watcher symbol. You can check it out at robertgovea.com/shop. Click the hat. Read more about what went into the symbol, including the sword, the shield, the scales of justice, and more. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Now, let's jump over to Fani's apology letters. Oh, gosh, I'm going to try to keep it together on this one. This one, man, we were on our after party yesterday at watchingthewatchers.locals.com when this just came across the timeline, and it's just outstanding. So let's get right to it. Fani Willis, her plea deals, which were supposed to be justice served because people like Sidney Powell took guilty pleas, which we know were ultimately just diversion deals, which will ultimately be dismissed anyways. But they told us that Fani secured victories. Why? Because she got apology letters. And those apology letters were going to be used in trial against Trump. Remember, they said they're going to come in and testify, and they're going to explain that Trump is guilty, and their apology letters are going to be robust, and Fani got everything that she wanted out of them. Remember that? We were mocking that because we said, why did she give them diversion deals then? Okay, they actually are not going to be convicted of anything. Yes, they took a guilty plea proceeding, but the judge held that in abeyance pending probation, at which point all of it's going to be dismissed in about 3 years. So she got nothing out of this. They said that these apology letters were going to be a home run, but guess not. What? Not. Here is what they look like. It is a one-sentence apology letter. That one's from Sidney Powell. Now, we're going to compare and contrast that to Jenna Ellis, who kind of made a big show about this when she stood up and read her letter, but didn't have to do that. The others, in their cases, certainly didn't. So we're going to go through the story. Fani's going to explain the strength of her case. She was on a podcast, and she's like, well, I'd rather not talk about it. It's like any other case. And I understand why she doesn't want to talk about it, because they don't have anything. And we'll look at some reaction from people like Bill Kristol, that woman, and then Psaki, who's paranoid that they're going to turn off the internet or something. So this is the back end of what we did not see when the plea deals were being executed. This was the apology letter from Kenneth Chesebro, a man who took a guilty plea proceeding, who took a diversion deal in Georgia, which means his case is going to be dismissed. And they go through the proceeding in case he doesn't complete probation or he gets in trouble again. If he does get in trouble again, they're going to bring back the guilty plea and enter the charge against him and convict him. But that's not going to happen. He's going to be fine. It's all going to be dismissed, and there will not even be a record of the charge. So what happened in this case is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution submitted a records request. And we can see why Fani didn't want to release these things. Because they're one sentence, two of them. Kenneth Chesebro, October 20th, when he's taking his plea, this is what he said. And the left was so excited about this. He apologized. Here's his apology. I apologize to the citizens of the state of Georgia and of Fulton County for my involvement in count 15 of the indictment. Kenneth Chesebro. I felt it, man. I really felt it. I'm moved. I can feel the sincerity in this. It really landed with me. And I can't wait until Fani takes this in front of the jurors for Trump. And she says, they're all upset about this. Does count 15 even involve Trump? I don't know. I would guess not. So that's his apology letter. All right. Nothing in there. Now, that is pretty good. Now let's count the words on this one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We'll count 15 as a word. So this is 22 words. Now I haven't done the math on this. Now let's see if Sidney Powell can beat that. All right. Let's see if she can do better. Let's see. So this is Sidney Powell's. Oh, I think she has it beat. I think she has it beat. What do you think? 22 words for Kenneth Chesebro. All right, let's see what Sidney did. So this is Sidney Powell, October 19th. She says, Sidney Powell, very sincere. Okay, get out the Kleenex. I apologize for my actions in connection with the events in Coffee County. I don't know how many that is. I don't know. I think she definitely, it felt like a win to me. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wow, man. 13. Is it 13? I think it's 13 words. Oh my gosh. I got to count that again. I got too excited. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 words. Oh my gosh. It's incredible. So Sidney Powell, man, she's a good lawyer, as we saw, man. She's really good at this stuff, as we saw. So that's pretty amazing. Now, I got to tell you, that's pretty good. Now, I don't know what I would say. You know what I would see? I got a couple options, okay? I would see if I could get away with like this, like, I'm sorry. And then I'd see like if Fani would take that. And then just leave it at that. I'm sorry. And then if she would take that, I'd say, you know what? Let's just try this one. Let's just try this. Let's just see if she'll take this. Just put that on a sticky note and send that over there. I think that I would try that one. Sorry. And just see if she'll take it. I don't know. That's getting pretty bravado there. I got to say, Sidney Powell's pretty safe. It's fair. 13 words is a nice victory for her. It's just, they said that they were going to take all these. They're going to take this in front of the judge, right? In front of the jurors. And the jurors are going to see all this. And so that's Sidney Powell, one of the main architects. Now, to be fair to Fani, this one's a little bit longer. Not going to count this one. But this was Scott Hall. Now, Scott Hall, I think, was the first one through the gate. Okay, Scott Hall was the first one who took a plea deal, and then everybody else was like, wait, you gave him a diversion deal with a stupid apology letter? Okay, so he's the first one, so I don't think he really knew that you could write a one sentence. Like, I don't think he knew that option, and he didn't date this, but yeah, I owe you an apology. I wish, let's see if he implicates Trump, okay? Because they said he's going to, this is going to be used to implicate Trump. That's why Fani's so brilliant. She's so smart. You're so dumb, Rob. To the citizens of Georgia, I owe you an apology. Wish I'd never involved myself in post-election activities that brought me to this court. I've never been in trouble with the law. I meant no harm to anyone. So it's not really, that's not really kind of, apology language. Now, I did what I did on my own. Oh, there you go. Oh, so Trump is not even involved at all. I was not acting on behalf of any organization or any other person or persons. Wow. So are you saying that what you're saying is there's no conspiracy? Huh? There's no conspiracy. Wow. So your apology letter, because you didn't plead guilty to conspiracy. In fact, you didn't plead guilty to anything. You went through a guilty plea proceeding there, Scott. A guilty plea proceeding, which is going to be held in abeyance when your case gets dismissed, which will be later down the line. And in your apology letter, you exonerate Donald Trump. So thanks for that, because there is no RICO case. There is no conspiracy. I did what I did on my own. So thank you for that. Now you can see why Fani does not want any of this coming out. So it's actually the opposite of what all the lefties were claiming. Okay. They were saying she got everything she wanted. He's actually exonerating them. Now, I became involved when I observed what I thought were some irregularities, which I reported to law enforcement. I was concerned. I went to the State Farm Arena on election night to the subsequent recounts as an observer and was ultimately invited to Coffee County. Although I certainly did not mean to violate any laws, I now realize that I did and have accepted responsibility for my actions. I offer my sincere apology to the citizens of the state of Georgia. Incredible. Incredible. So the first two letters are like, get bent. Here's your stinking apology, losers. And then this is like a total slam dunk for Trump. It actually supports Trump and blasts the rest of the RICO case. Like, there is no RICO case. No, I did what I did on my own. This is ridiculous. I was invited there, didn't even intend to violate the law, but I accepted responsibility because you guys are partisan prosecutor hacks and you made me do it. But sorry, George. Like, that's true, by the way. I don't think any of these guys wanted to violate the law. And if they did technically violate it in some way, shape, or form, I'm not saying that they did, but like, yeah, okay. Like, you can apologize for that. I didn't realize that I was going to be weaponized, attacked and weaponized for doing what everyone else has done. But they found a law, and I don't want to violate the law. I want to be a law-abiding citizen. So, you can't man, this is like a home run from Scott. I actually think this is also a great strategy. So rather than even writing just, a one-worder, so from going from a 22-word to a 13-word, maybe to a 2 or a 3-word plus a contraction, that's really a 3-word. I got sneaky with that one. That's a contraction. So it's really like a 3 words boiled down into a 2. See if Fani would accept that. But my point is, this is also brilliant, right? You could also just write 10 pages of this. Hey, Fani, here's why you're a loser. I'm sorry you're a loser. How's that? You take that for an apology? I'm sorry you're a partisan hack prosecutor who's wrecking America. That's what I'm sorry for. Signed, Scott Hall. That'd be pretty good. All right, so a lot of options here. Really, you can do whatever you want in Fani's courtroom. She's got no case, so nobody cares. So she's just like, yeah, I'll take it. Now, for some reason, Jenna Ellis didn't get the memo that there's a better way to do this. And so she, if you recall, we were covering this here. She did this. This was her approach. And I'm not sure why, because all the other 3 had a little bit different turnout, a little bit of a different outcome. But here was Jenna.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to address the court. As an attorney who is also a Christian, I take my responsibilities as a lawyer very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way. I endeavored to represent my client to the best of my ability. I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information, especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. Thank you.
All right, so a little bit of an emotional layer that she added on there, and okay. But the letter doesn't say anything. It doesn't, indicate that there's anything wrong, that Trump did wrong. It's a pretty vanilla letter, and she just is blaming bad information that came to her. Okay, it still doesn't implicate anybody, so it's a little bit more theatrical. The others, Sidney Powell's approach was good. I'm sorry for your inconvenience. Bye. Have a nice day, Fani. So that's Jenna, right? That's the 3. That's what we've got. We've got all 3 of those knocked out, and so Fani is not doing so hot in this case. Now, she did show up on a podcast. Now, this podcast was breaking down the Trump indictment, and they brought Fani on, and let's see what this sounds like from this podcast.
I am confident in the evidence. If you
edited this conversation for length and clarity, but we've also given her.
I guess the sticky notes worked out okay. Case is about 4 months old. I guess we want to know how it's gone so far.
I think I'm assuming you're talking about the election interference case, because that's the case you asked me about before. I think it's going like normal cases in the system.
How do you feel about the strength of your case at this point?
I bring indictments when I am confident in the evidence we bring. And so I'm at the same place I was on the day we indicted.
Okay.
And I think probably more so than maybe national viewers, that when I took office, I changed the philosophy of the way we charge cases in this office. And so it's very important to me that any case, whether it's a theft by shoplifting or possession of drugs or murder or some white collar crime,
or RICO presidential
that
crime,
we get all of the evidence together. And once we are satisfied with we have enough evidence, we bring charges. And so that is followed on every single case in this office. I thought it was an unethical practice to charge people by police just faxing over a paragraph, and then based on that, you bring charges. You put a lot of people in a bad position where they have the scarlet letter of an indictment. You really didn't have good evidence because you didn't do the research. I thought it was bad for the people that were charged as well as victims, because you don't do a good job of making sure that you have a strong case.
General charging policy, like what about
There's
Trump
nothing
and
unique
the Trump
about
case?
any case in this office. The process is the same every time.
Well,
not every case started out with 19 defendants, though.
She doesn't
That's
like
some
it.
big number to everybody else in the universe. It's not that big to me. APS was 35. I got a couple of 28. I don't even know why it's exciting to people.
I've done this
Here,
before.
Willis is talking about the Atlanta Public Schools test cheating case.
Okay, so you heard that. That's a little intro. Now we're going to fast forward through this next segment because they get back to the Trump stuff, but they're like, okay, she doesn't want to talk about this. So they fast forward through this.
Then
I guess personally, I just remember being very tired. And every America nor reporters, you all really do not believe fundamentally, because if you did, it wouldn't be so interesting, that everyone is the same. So the process is always the same. And so why is that news that it's, and clearly it is, it's not a criticism of you because people comment on it, but it shouldn't be news that any defendant has to go through the process. So it wasn't anything special to me. I've seen a lot of bookend photos in my day. It's another bookend photo from somebody charged with a crime.
So as you can see, Willis was pretty brief in her answers and repeated again and again that the Trump case is just like any other case her office handles.
And what has this done for your life personally? I know that you've testified a lot about the...
So they brought her on. They're like, hey, can we talk to you about the most interesting thing ever? And she's like, what are you talking about? It's boring, okay? It's just Trump. Don't ask me about anything. Even they have to note it, like, oh, this kind of sucks.
The personal threats you've received, but can you reflect a little bit on that and how it's changed your life and maybe your own personal sense of security walking through the world?
We have a lot of people that are mentally ill in the world. It's clear to me that people are offended when everyone is treated equally. And so as a result, I have a lot of ignorant, probably mentally ill people that lodge threats at me and my family.
Yeah, probably.
That's obviously no one wants to have themselves threatened or their families threatened. So I take proper precautions, none of which I'll discuss because I wouldn't want my safety or my family's safety to be jeopardized by discussing them.
Neither do we.
It is a shame, though, that we are at a time in Americans' history where if someone doesn't like a decision, that they think that it's appropriate to call them racist names, which I've definitely been called.
Fani? Your name is Fani. I don't know what you're talking about.
Everything from a slave whore to the N-word more times than I can count. There's usually
that's not what we use,
ugly racial identifications, like you're going to be hung or you'll be raped and hung.
No, see, stuff like that is criminal, by the way. So she's a prosecutor. She knows this. She knows better than this. You're not allowed to make those types of threats to government officials. In fact, you're not allowed to make those threats to anybody. It's called harassment. It's called threatening. Okay, and that's criminalized in various permutations all around the country. So it's already illegal to do that. They're already investigating and arresting people who are doing those things. But they're trying to say that type of stuff that happens all the time, okay? Like, this is a big country. There's a law of big numbers. If you have 100 million people, let's say a third of the country who hear about something, someone's going to have a reaction to it and probably do something that's not really great, right? Whether it's a phone call or a text message or something, right? It's just a big country. It's just the law of numbers. It's just probabilities, essentially. But they take these little incidents and they say, now everybody's attacking me and they're attacking my case. And I'm a victim, and so rather than defending the case, they just layer over it, like they blanket over it with all of their personal attacks that somehow makes their case stronger. So here's Fani.
Things to bring terror, but I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They're wasting their time.
And then we had a few exchanges like this one. You've gotten 4 plea agreements so far. with
So, I'll let you ask your full question because, I don't want to be rude to you, but, I'm not going to comment on any open case in terms of plea agreements
They're
or
closed. They're closed, Fani. They're done.
defendants from standing. But I'll let you ask your question and then I'll say that.
They're sitting there like,
well,
so what the hell did you come to our studio for here, Willis?
I guess I was going to ask how important was it to get those plea agreements and how important is that to your case going forward?
This guy's on his heels. He's like, holy crap, what's your problem here, man? I'm like, this is an interview. You want to answer questions?
I won't discuss any open case. I can just talk about process. And I think you've probably heard it before. And I know, are someone who is an actual experienced journalist and experienced with the courtroom and the way criminal cases proceed. Again, not a unique fact. In APS, we started with 35 defendants. 2 of those unfortunately passed, meaning they died, which left 33 defendants remaining.
In your jail or what?
21 took pleas. We used each of those pleas to tell further the accounts of what happened in that incident. Plea agreements in the criminal practice, you often give them because someone wants to take responsibility for what they did. That's why you'll give someone a lesser sentence, because it's an important part is to just have attrition and say, I apologize, I shouldn't have been involved in this conduct. And it often helps you in making sure that you're able to prove your case, although you should do that at the time of indictment, whether you have a plea or not.
Do you think it'll take having a trial date on the calendar before you're going to get some of these people to agree to these deals?
So Fulton County, I've learned, I've practiced almost my entire career here, is unique from other circuits in that that's not the way our process kind of works. So you bring an indictment. Typically, there's a plea and arraignment where people just say that they're not guilty for the charges. That's a court date. They call it a plea and arraignment court date. Motions are filed in big cases. Lots and lots and lots of motions are filed by many different defendants. And so you have motions hearings. The reason I mention that is often, and before you can have motions, you have to file the discovery, which is all the information you have on the case. So people know what motions they want to file, what evidence they want to challenge. What has been my practice, what I have seen in my practice for these 28 years that I've been practicing law and criminal law, is that typically it is after motions when you'll get the most amount of pleas. And so what happens after motions in Fulton County, Georgia, and that's all I can speak to, is we have what we call a final plea date. Most judges in Fulton County will use final plea date for your last opportunity for a negotiated plea. There's a great significance to a negotiated plea, and that is because if we agree to what the sentence is going to be, and you as the defendant, the judge can always say, I'm not going to accept that negotiated plea. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think that's justice. And so a judge can reject it. If a judge rejects it, anytime up to and including final plea, the defendant can say, well, since you didn't accept the plea that I negotiated, then I'm going to go ahead to trial. One is able to take a plea after final plea, but they have to take what's called a non-negotiated plea, which means the judge sentences. And the second important part about that is you do not have the right to withdraw your plea. So you're stuck with it.
Thanks, Fani.
So whatever the judge gave you, that's what you're going to do. If that's 20 years in jail, then you're going to do 20 years in jail because you're past the date of final plea. And so I never really expect pleas in a lot of an amount. We certainly had them in APS too, but you're always just in practicing law going to see more pleas after motions. And it makes sense because now I know what's coming in against me and what's not coming in against me. Now lawyers are in a position where they can really tell their client, okay, you might want to take a plea. The easiest example for lay people to understand is in a drug case. So sometimes you have a motion to suppress the drugs that were found.
All right, this is interesting. Now, I don't necessarily agree with her. I mean, so sometimes what happens, at least here in Arizona, is you have a trial tax, okay? The farther you take the case, the further you push the issues. Like if you file a motion to suppress, they'll actually make your plea deal get worse, okay? So you are incentivized to plea out early rather than later. So, oftentimes, and if her office doesn't do this, shout out to her, by the way. Like I prefer that. Like we should get all of the evidence and we should get all of the discovery. But in many situations, the prosecutor will actually penalize you. It's like, do you think, for example, that the Proud Boys would have gotten the same penalty if they had taken a plea? Of course not. do you think that they would have gotten the same sentence if they had taken a plea? Of course not. They would have gotten, a fraction of the time. So is that justice then? Like, they went to trial and challenged the charges. So is it justice that they go to jail longer than what would have been acceptable for them under a plea? Like, should it be like triple, quadruple what the penalty was, the original charge? Like, they were willing to put these guys in prison for 5 years. Why is 25 years appropriate now all of a sudden? Because there's more charges there and they went to trial. So the penalty just suddenly needs to be much worse. It's a trial tax. And so I think that probably happens in here. It's just all prosecutors. And even if it's not a written policy, as it was here in Arizona for a very long time, then maybe they just do it, impliedly, right? Which I think that they do, because you're making the prosecutor work. Like, you're making them respond to a motion to suppress. You're making them set up and schedule interviews with you. And like, oh gosh, all right, my plea is revoked. Take the plea or not.
And lawyers will wait for their clients to take a plea until they know, is the judge going to say this search was legal or this search was illegal? If it's illegal, all the drugs are out. Prosecution is in a position where we are going to probably dismiss the case because we can't use the evidence against you. Or the judge is going to say, yeah, them 3 kilos, they're going to come in and the search was good. And then they're going to say, hey, what's the best deal that we can get? So we are kind of in the normal place of the process. And so I'm not at all surprised about where we are or how many pleas have been taken in that case. I think we're following the normal course.
We saw you for the first time in court in the revocation hearing for Harrison Floyd. And I guess I'm just wondering if we're going to see you in court more often in this case.
Ask her why she lost.
So just to correct the record, when we were in a pre-indictment stage in this case, I did appear in court.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you're speaking post-indictment.
Thanks, Fani,
I
for
told
the
somebody
correction.
recently, and I think it's true, and you'll probably appreciate this more than other reporters. I don't think anyone should ever be surprised if D.A. Willis enters a courtroom. That's like not something that should surprise you. And so
I agree.
that's not a straight
It's nice
answer,
you
I
showed
guess. But I don't think anyone should be surprised if I walk into the court to defend any case
So are
that
you
I
gonna come
have
back?
here.
Your name's on the indictment.
My
So
name's on every indictment. And so ultimately, my assistant district attorneys are carrying out my duties and responsibilities.
Do you think it's possible you might make an appearance at trial whenever the trial comes?
I think it's very possible.
Yeah, you better,
That hearing
Fani.
with Harrison Floyd, it seemed, involving, threats against witnesses, it seemed almost personal for you. Do you feel
Yeah, you were
a
fired
heightened
up.
level of responsibility when it comes to the safety of some of these witnesses?
And are you mad that you lost?
Oh, I feel a heightened sense of security when it comes to my witnesses in all cases. I would not say it's personal, but it is at the front of my mind in
It felt
terms of
personal.
business. This is not the only case by any stretch of the imagination where we very much worry about threats. That kind of goes back to our first part of our conversation. We are living in a time in America where there is a lack of respect for authority and there's a lack of respect for the process. That hit home the largest for me.
You better believe it. There is. Yeah, your authority. You guys have made a joke of the justice system. That's your own doing. Why did you try to indict and prosecute your partisan opponents? I mean, that's obviously insane. So, yes, you've made a joke of the system yourself, and we're going to call you out for it. And we'll see how much authority you think you have and how this whole thing goes, because it is slowly unraveling before us. You have one sentence apologies.
Earlier in maybe last year now, someone threatened our sheriff. And that seemed crazy to me.
That's a
because your
crime.
sheriff in any county is your most important law enforcement officer, right? You're your chief number one law enforcement officer. But to me, the reason I bring that up is it just shows what a horrible place we are at when people think it is okay to threaten law enforcement officers who risk their life to protect you. And so, yes, I take it very, very seriously when people get doxxed, which this week in a trial, not the one you're referring to right now, I've had law enforcement officers doxxed.
Okay, so not the Trump one? Great. What are you guys doing about that? You melting down about that one? You're going to gag everybody in those cases?
Personally, as you know, have been doxxed, which for your listeners and viewers who don't know what that means, it means where someone will share your personal information, meaning your home address or your business or your telephone number, so that people can intentionally harass you. And that's been done in cases that this office is bringing, in cases the Attorney General is currently bringing, against different law enforcement officers here, against city council people in my city about another case. So yes, I think you can hear the passion in my voice when people threaten people that are just coming forward, being good citizens, doing their duties. It is a very important thing to me, and it's something we are not going to tolerate.
Okay.
Speaking of threats or perceived threats against witnesses in this case, we had one of the defendants, Trevian Cootie, go on Instagram Live recently and talk about Ruby Freeman, one of the witnesses in this case. There were some legal folks I spoke to who said that it was grounds for you to seek a revocation of Ms. Cootie's bond agreement. Do you plan to do that in the future, and why haven't we seen action on the DA's part yet?
Because she lost the last one?
Because the DA is patient.
You're off.
Because she lost the last one, okay? She tried to revoke Harrison Floyd's bond and failed massively. Because the first thing you got to do is have a protective order that is actually specific so that Floyd has notice. Now, did she have the same protective order issued against her? She says she's patient. All right.
Office has requested an August 5th trial date for next year. We have the special counsel in the DC case going to the Supreme Court right now asking for expedited review. It's possible that case could be delayed. It's possible. It's possible the New York case could be delayed for some reason and the classified documents. If there is an opening before August the 5th, do you think you would be ready and willing to step forward here?
Oh, we would be ready and willing. I always say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So the state would be ready and willing, but we have to go through that natural process that we've talked about of hearing all of the defense motions, hearing all of the state's motions, having final plea. But the date that we asked for was respectful of our sister jurisdictions. And so we considered that those dates were already set. And so I wasn't going to go in and ask for the same date that was set in another jurisdiction. But, I am aware that there are things going on elsewhere in the world that could delay this, but certainly, as you said, there might be openings, and it would just depend on where we were in the process, meaning had we gone through all of those other necessary steps. We have a new judge in this case, and I think he's been criticized for being a new judge, but what I watch him do, not in this case, just in all cases, is he seems to be managing his calendar very, very efficiently.
Yeah, he seems
having
good.
dates, holding people accountable. He's jumping in and trying cases. And so I think that's lucky. Not every judge is that efficient. And so I think it's lucky for all the parties involved that you have a judge that moves their calendar along efficiently. And I'm sure if he sees an opening and he's made sure that everyone's rights are protected and we've done all the motions, that it's something he may set down. But obviously,
I'm not sure if that's true or not. August dates in the middle of an election season. Give me a break. Okay, so that's Fani. Now, I'm sure she continues to talk on, but we can only tolerate so much. So she has an interesting take on some of these issues, really doesn't want to comment on it. It is the standard sequence of criminal prosecutions. As far as she can tell, they're still pushing for an August trial date. She doesn't have much comments on the prior plea deals. We think that they were a joke since she doesn't have any actual convictions. And this is what the actual apology looks like, a one-sentencer, and then a defense of actions by Mr. Scott Hall. And so we've got some questions now about these other cases. Fani got asked about SCOTUS and Jack Smith and moving those trial dates around. We know that Jack Smith is appealing directly to the Supreme Court to see whether they will find that Trump has, or in Jack Smith's opinion, does not have presidential immunity, or claims that the cases should be dismissed based on double jeopardy and other things. This is Bill Kristol saying that, SCOTUS isn't going to save us. We're so petrified against Donald Trump that we've been relying on somebody to take him out. Jack Smith filed 2. Fani's got 1. Bragg's got 1. Ms. Bergdorf Carroll is civilly suing him. Tishy's taking away his business attemptedly. And Kristol is getting a little bit nervous about this. Here's what he sounds like.
March 4th looks less likely. So I think the court's likely to reject Trump's immunity claims. If they take them, he's kind of off the hook for at least federal criminal indictments and charges. But this probably delays, I was talking to lawyers yesterday, by a month or two, the actual trial going ahead, even if the Supreme Court ultimately rejects Trump's claims, just because the judge has paused the depositions and discovery in the trial, as I think she probably has to while this thing is on appeal. So I think the notion that we're going to have a trial beginning March 4th looks less likely. Maybe April, maybe May. I don't know. Will the trial even, at that point, does Trump say, hey, we're in the middle of the presidential campaign. I'm the nominee, basically.
Yeah.
Will be the nominee of the Republican Party.
You're going to have a trial?
we can't have a 2-month trial here. It's not fair, and let's just put it off till after the election. So I am much more, I'm anti-Trump, just to put all my cards on the table here.
We know
but
that.
I've been always more skeptical than a lot of my friends that the court system would save us, so to speak, from Trump. And those voters who say they don't want to vote for a convicted felon, I think they're being sincere. We'll see if that changes in the course of the next few months. But I'm not sure that have to. So I'm sort of doubtful that he will actually will have a trial and from out of which he'll be convicted.
Oh, so they are starting to recognize the truth on these things. And did you like how he said that the judicial system is not going to save them from Trump? It's like, what are you talking about? What kind of country are you living in that the judicial system should have any say in who governs the country, right? They are neutral judges, but they are using, right, the courts as political tools. And Bill Kristol's in on it. I thought he was a Republican like a long time ago or something like that. Weird how the tides change. So that's Kristol. This woman was over on MSNBC, and she is very happy with how these cases are going. She says, I think that what Jack Smith is doing is pretty brilliant. Says you can read more about it on their website, but here is MSNBC's analysis on how this works.
Because I think Jack Smith's filing actually was pretty brilliant. His strategy has been really brilliant to try to cut Donald Trump off from this delay strategy. This is what Public Notice wrote about it. Trump's lawyers insist that the Constitution's Take Care Clause made Trump an all-purpose policeman obliged to interfere with the certification of President Biden's electoral victory. This is a particularly odd position because the 12th Amendment to the Constitution lays out specific roles for Congress and the vice president in the electoral certification, but not for the president. So talk about this just for a moment, because it is slightly unusual for the Supreme Court to skip the D.C. circuit and just jump before them. But it's not completely unusual, right? And is this a solid argument on the part of Trump's lawyers that somehow interfering with the election is part of his job?
Right, so we're pivoting from the Fisher case, which is about the January 6th charges, and now turning to Trump's efforts to delay this trial altogether by arguing that he is immune from prosecution as a former president. What Jack Smith has done here is basically said, we can't wait for the Intermediate Appellate Court to make a ruling here. That would take too long. This country needs to know whether one of its candidates.
So this woman's name is Melissa Murray, and she is... Wow, she wrote a book called The Trump Indictments, the historic charging documents with commentary. She wrote a book with Andrew Weissman with commentary. They wrote a whole book about the indictment. Oh, man, I'm sure the MSNBC viewers are just reading it. Probably it's, like on their tables, when they say their prayers before dinner or whatever. So the Trump Indictments, the historic charging documents with commentary from Melissa and Andrew. Here you go.
For president is a convicted felon or not. And so it is sought certiorari without judgment, before judgment in this case. And it's asked the Supreme Court to not only do that, to take this case, but to do so with incredible expedition. And the question that the court has to address is whether the scope of presidential immunity, which has never been applied in the context of a criminal case, because we have never had a former president or a sitting president be indicted on criminal charges.
No, we haven't.
Whether or not the scope of presidential immunity goes so far as to insulate a president from criminal charges. And Donald Trump is arguing that his discouragement of the counting of the votes or the certification of the votes in Congress, that was merely part of his job as president and therefore within the scope, within that outer perimeter of his duties, and therefore renders him immune. Jack Smith is arguing that he wasn't even supposed to be there. That is a job for the vice president. This is not part of the president's official duties. He has no immunity here.
Yeah, so if she's right about that, there's good analysis there. I think that her analysis is accurate. It's funny that they're grifting off the indictment. They wrote a whole book about it, and it's incredible. But anyways, so I think that she's right? Jack Smith is trying to leapfrog. He is trying to go very quickly. They got a little caught flat-footed on this thing. They thought that Chutkan was going to be able to anchor that March 4th trial date in there, and then boom, that Coinbase case came out, 2023. They hit this thing on immunity, double jeopardy. They took the case away from her. So then Jack Smith freaked out, hit Judge Chutkan with a motion, hit the Court of Appeals with a motion, and hit the Supreme Court with the motion, all within like 48 hours. Boom, or within the same day, I think. Pop, pop, pop. Oh, crap. We don't have this case anymore. We're in big trouble. So I don't think Jack Smith is this brilliant legal scholar at all, saying that this is their strategy. It's brilliant, whatever. I think we'll see what SCOTUS does about it, but that is their analysis. Now, meanwhile, we know what a danger Trump is, because elsewhere on MSNBC, there's a show called Inside Jen Psaki. It's one of their hit shows, and she is telling us about some other threats that Trump might bring down upon us. Brought this guy on, Miles Taylor. He is a national security official and he's host of some TV show. Now, if elected, he says that Trump may turn off the internet, which would be a big problem here. We won't be able to live stream.
Liz Cheney's been talking about that I am also obsessed with is kind of what damage he could do within government without even necessarily breaking the law, like how he could use the levers of government to bend to his will. You've worked in government. What scares you the most?
Well, the possibilities are almost limitless. And I spent nearly 2 years asking that question to people. And I wrote it in this book, Blowback, but to try to paint that picture, to try to understand what he would actually do by talking to all of my former colleagues at different departments and agencies under Trump and asking them that question. What will happen in a second term? The biggest concerns for me are on the national security side. I think Americans still don't understand the full extent of the president's powers and things Donald Trump could do, bubble wrapped in legalese, that would be damaging to the republic. And one of those that I've noted is there's something in the White House called the Doomsday Book. And for the first time, DHS gave authorization for me to mention this publicly. And the fact that there are...
DHS gave you permission to talk about this publicly? Why is the DHS giving you permission to talk about propaganda garbage adverse to Trump on the national airwaves? All right, who is this dude? Former Chief of Staff, Homeland Security Department. So he's not with the government anymore. So they're telling him that he can go out there and he can talk about this with Trump? What?
Full extent of the president's powers and things Donald Trump could do, bubble wrapped in legalese, that would be damaging to the republic. And one of those that I've noted is there's something in the White House called the Doomsday Book. And for the first time, DHS gave authorization for me to mention this publicly.
That's convenient.
And the fact that there are concerns that that book, which is supposed to be used to protect the country in instances of armed foreign invasion or rebellion, it's the president's most extraordinary powers, could be picked up by Trump and used for domestic political purposes. He could invoke powers we've never heard a president of the United States invoke, potentially to shut down companies.
Do you mean like prosecuting your political opponents in this country, like through the DOJ? Do you mean like that? We've never seen that before. Do you mean something like that? I mean, it would never happen 234 years of American history. Is that what you're talking about, my man?
Or turn off the internet or deploy the U.S. military on U.S. soil. We don't know because, the things that are in there, the emergency powers of the president, aren't widely known to the American people. So that's a big worry for people like me and others about what he could do. But that weaponization of the government could extend across the interagency to places where we haven't seen it before. The Department of Education, the Department of Veterans Affairs, ways to wield that power and those budgets to help his allies and to hurt his enemies. And to be clear, those aren't just elites. To Donald Trump, his enemies include people who live in blue states. I remember him not wanting to deliver emergency aid to blue states because he didn't like them, because they didn't like him.
I mean, Miles, the Doomsday Book, I think it's safe to say we don't want in Donald Trump's hands. Anthony, one of the...
No, Joe Biden's hands are much better. But my gosh, can you believe what they're doing over there on MSNBC? If you're a viewer, what are you watching there? Like, you're just listening to these people. Like, do you think you're going to die 24/7 all the time? If you watch this channel, it's like, what is happening? You're going to, double mask and all the things, go get all the things, or else you'll die. Trump will kill you. Trump is going to take away the Constitution, turn off the internet, doomsday device. It's like, man, these people's cortisol levels have to just be through the roof. So you almost feel bad for them. It's like, are you addicted to this type of dopamine hit where you just have, or is this their engagement platform? Or are they going to do something with the internet and then blame Trump on it? Trump people take out the internet, MAGA insurrectionists insurrect the internet, something like that, right? I don't know. Be mindful of those comments. I would, imagine this guy is not just selling books. Let me just leave it at that. Not just selling books. Probably an ulterior agenda there as well. So, my friends, that is Fani's plea deal. Okay, they're panicked about this. She's got no case. They don't think SCOTUS is going to be able to save them. They think that Jack Smith's brilliant when it doesn't look like it. And Trump's going to turn the internet off. So, of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover Fani's case and Tishy's case and Jackie Deranged Thug Smith's case as well. And so thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this, my friends. Thanks for heading on over to robertgovea.com. We got a nice shop that is now there. You can grab some flip-flopping Hillary Clinton sandals, which turned out great. You can grab some flip-flopping Joe Biden sandals, which also have Hunty featured, tucked away back in there for Crackhead Hunter extravaganza. You can grab the Watcher hat, which you can learn about the Watcher symbol. It's a great way to support the show. Thanks for making our new shop a success. I love that people are ordering stuff and wearing it out there. Thanks for being here, my friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Okay, now let's wrap it up, my friends. We got one final segment on the day, and let's take a look at what's happening with Swalwell and Hunter. Here's the story. Eric Swalwell, a representative in Congress who we know made bang bang with Fang Fang, a Chinese spy, was seen hanging out with Hunty Biden, the president's son, who was doing some weird stuff with China as well. The CEFC organization threatening Chinese diplomats and other businessmen, saying, "My daddy's sitting right next to me. Give me the money or else." And it's looking like Swalwell was very, very involved in orchestrating this little press deal. And so it's a curious situation that's happening. Now, a lot of things are happening in Washington. Lesley Wolf, one of the U.S. attorneys who was supposedly involved in the investigation of Hunter, she's gone. Comer woke up and finally realized that Hunter gave him that middle finger when he drove by there, flipping off Congress with his attorney. And he says, we're going to do something about it. But this is the story with Swalwell. He says, I was kind of there, set the whole thing up. Why? Because Joe loves his son. Here's the report. They explain the following, wherever the link is. Hang on a second. We got some mind map issues. There it is. Here's the setup. Behind Hunter Biden's unexpected appearance. Who showed up to help? Oh, stinky Eric Swalwell, Mr. Bang Bang himself. So Hunter pulled off a surprise appearance at the Capitol. Guess who was there? Eric. Now, the Democrat lawmaker confirmed to Politico that he did it. He reserved the Senate swamp, which is a spot that's mere feet away from the Capitol that often hosts press conferences, and he got it nice and warm for Hunter. TV cameras spotted Swalwell beside the president's son, and Hunter went on the offense. Now, Republicans later formalized the impeachment, and here, Swalwell has a nice little bro relationship with this dude. Here's what Swalwell said when he was hitting this up on the media. They're saying, why are you there? Why are you setting him up? What is this close relationship you have here with Hunter? Here is Eric.
I see a good and decent man in Joe Biden who united the country, and all the evidence has shown that he loved his son. His son was on hard times, and he bought his son a truck, and his son paid him back. He loaned his brother money, and his brother paid him back. Joe Biden is just a decent American who fought MAGAism and is seeing them use this against him, and as I said, in this sick and perverse way. I see.
Sick, man. Sick that Hunter got $83,000 a month for whatever board he was on with Burisma. Sick that he's threatening Chinese businessmen, saying, I'm sitting here next to my father, who has a wrath that you don't even have any understanding what he's going to be doing to you. No evidence of anything, even though that money that they paid back is directly connected to foreign funds. Nobody able to identify what it was for, where it came from. So this is Swalwell defending the president and the president's son. The Biden administration came out with a statement, not much interesting here. They said, after we got impeached, this is a baseless stunt. Says, the American people need their leaders to take action on important priorities, right? I met with Ukraine and he came here for help, but Republicans are not helping. But we have to address the southern border and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't say anything about it. After wasting weeks These are not real issues that Americans care about, and American people deserve better. Blah, blah. Here, Ian Sams is making the same arguments that we've heard previously. He's White House counsel, and he's saying that there is still no evidence here, and the Republicans have left town. And this is frightening, and it's really unserious behavior. So here's what the White House says. We're going to hear what Congress and Comer and others say here in a minute.
We have really serious challenges, and these House Republicans don't seem to be serious people. They're launching an impeachment inquiry based on lies with no evidence while jetting out of town and leaving Ukraine aid on the table. I mean, this is really frightening behavior and unserious behavior.
We need that Ukraine
Look, on
money.
the impeachment inquiry, they've been investigating this president all year long. Actually, in fact, they've been investigating this president for 4 years. The Senate Republicans, before he was even elected president, investigated these same allegations. And now, all year long, they've been probing and investigating and subpoenaing and doing all the things that they do to try to drum up some type of wrongdoing by President Biden to try to attack him and use politically. And over again, they've found nothing. After 100,000 pages of documents, 40 hours of witness interviews. These are the things they've already gotten, and they haven't found a single shred of evidence of any wrongdoing by President Biden because there is no evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden. So as we move forward with this inquiry, whatever that is, they haven't really laid out exactly what they're trying to do here. We're going to keep pushing back and keep putting the facts out there for the American people to see that this is actually a baseless smear that is all motivated by politics and not by anything real.
So, Ian, if you consider what you're just speaking about right now, the intent of the Republicans who seemingly cannot govern, but their sole intent is to impeach.
Is that his dad who just joined him on the show? His father and son routine? These two have going on here? Okay. Well, anyways, so that's the White House spokesman who is delivering the same talking points as always, right? No evidence, nothing connects Joe Biden to anything, even though the entire thing, Joe Biden is the hub, right? He is the hub of the entire operation. So that's the conversation that they're having there at the White House. Now, we know that the cover-up is already underway. I think obstruction is a very serious thing that's worth looking into. For example, why is Lesley Wolf, one of the people that the whistleblower said was involved in covering up the Hunter Biden affair, by warning his attorneys that they were going to go investigate a storage facility, said, hey, Hunter lawyers, maybe you should go empty it. And guess what? They did. Now she's apparently leaving. Former U.S. attorney named Lesley Wolf, who was there in Delaware, has reportedly left the Department of Justice. Isn't that convenient? According to Fox News, which cited a source familiar with the situation, the ex-federal prosecutor stood accused by the IRS whistleblowers of limiting the avenues of investigations. Now, reports of her departure emerged the same day that she sat for a transcribed interview with Judiciary. That's curious. Jim Jordan served her with a subpoena back in November, and so she showed up. Now, Hunter didn't, but she did. Now, witness testimony and public reporting indicates that an assistant U.S. attorney for Delaware, apparently the question was, that's from the subpoena, which we read. And that's all we know. Man, we don't know much about this, okay? Apparently she's gone, keeping tight lids on it. And the issue with these lower level DOJ U.S. attorneys is they're kind of not big enough to follow. Like the news doesn't follow. The news doesn't, look into them and figure out what happened or where it went. So they just kind of slunk away into the shadows, right? Which is just perfect for the prosecutors because they, oftentimes operate in the gutters anyways. So she just kind of goes back into what she's used to, hiding around, covering up for stuff, doing, all the things that we allege she did here. And nobody's really going to investigate it. It just kind of disappears. Now, we'll see what that depot looks like and whether Jordan releases the subpoena on that or the transcripts on that. We'll be certainly interested in seeing them. Now, Comer, who we've been a little bit hard on this week because they got embarrassed by Hunter. They should have had at least a statement that looked good in response to his refusal. Like that was an option and they didn't even have a plan for it, is what it felt like on our end. But he woke up and he's still in his hoodie and he's like, aha! I got to talk to somebody about this. Hunter gave us the finger. And so he called his friend John Solomon. I mean, he couldn't even get out of his morning run. He just finished his run. It like hit him on his run. And then he called in John. He's like, John, Hunter flipped us off. He gave us a middle finger.
Didn't sit down with you, did he?
No, Hunter didn't. I think the American people got a snapshot of the arrogance and entitlement of Hunter Biden when he arrives at the Capitol at the exact same time he's supposed to be deposed. And he just basically gives the U.S. Congress a middle finger and says that he's a Biden. The rules don't apply to him. He would love to answer their questions. And then he gets in his car and drives off without answering any questions. This won't stand just because Hunter Biden's been treated differently and been treated special by the Department of Justice, the FBI, the IRS, and about every other government agency that should have already apprehended Hunter Biden. That doesn't mean he's going to be treated that way by the House Oversight Committee. We've been firm. We will hold him in contempt of Congress. This will not stand, and we expect to see Hunter Biden in here for a deposition. With respect to the vote, John, I mean, what a vote. Look, it's been a long time since the House Republicans have been unanimous on anything. And I'm proud of my colleagues. The media tried to harass the moderate members by going up to them saying, do you think you can explain this at home? You know, they were trying to do everything they could to deter the moderate. But the moderates know the American people want answers. The American people want to know what the Bidens did to receive the tens of billions of dollars they received from our enemies around the world. And that's what this investigation is all about. It's about providing the American people with the truth.
All right. So that's Comer. He realizes, Hunter did flip you guys off, and maybe they're going to do something about it. Here's Jason Smith, who's also a part of the investigation, explaining that there is more coming. Here is what he sounded like.
2 years ago, Congressman, President Biden
press conference yesterday before the Capitol steps just confirms additionally what IRS whistleblower said. From the facts that they provided, they showed that apparently because your last name was Biden, you were treated differently. Let me tell you,
above the law.
Donald Trump Jr. went before Congress in the House and the Senate in 6 closed hearings, over 20 hours. What we asked for was not a suggestion. It was a requirement, and he should be held in contempt. He's creating a constitutional crisis because his father is president of the United States, and he feels like that he has the protections and can do as he wishes. But that is not how it works. What other American would have defied a congressional subpoena and did a press conference on the steps of the Capitol the day that he was supposed to be before Congress?
Wow. It's a good point. It is a good point that he is above the law. He can do whatever he wants. He can literally stand right outside Congress, as you're watching right there. And Congress and everybody, Comer, they're like, huh? Looking out the window, wishing that they could do something about it. So, all right, that's Jason Smith, and he's also realizing it. Now, here's our final clip. This is a warning to Democrats. This one came over from this guy. He's running against Joe Biden, and he's saying, the Democrats, you guys are really botching this, okay? We can see it. You know, even though we're making fun of Comer and Jim Jordan and Biden is, making them look like kind of dum-dums, this is not good for their brand. This is not good for the election. Joe Biden is spiraling out of control. They're running out of time to fix it, and he seems like he's doubling down. Unless Gavin Newsom puts up some tripwires around the White House, it looks like Joe Biden might be the nominee. And so this guy is trying to unseat him and trying to ring the warning bells, but nobody wants to listen.
When you and I spoke, you said that you are not taking on President Biden. You're not running against him. You told me that, and now you're calling him an unelectable threat to democracy. What has changed?
Well, that is unelectable. I mean, the data is showing every single poll coming out right now, Kristen, every one is showing him falling further behind, his approval numbers at historic lows. And I'm trying to generate a wake-up call to Democrats that we have a real problem here. And rather than stifling and suppressing competition, we should be encouraging it.
I disagree. I completely disagree. I think that Joe Biden is your nominee. Okay, he's already done a fine job, here as president. And I think that, he's clearly capable of another 4 years, and Democrats should get behind him.
I spent the better part of a year encouraging other candidates to enter the race. The water's warm. We need to practice democracy now. And I want to make something clear. The president is not a threat to democracy, but running and suppressing other candidates is a threat when you are behind in the polls like he is. And frankly,
wow, even Democrats are saying that Joe Biden is suppressing the vote. So not only is he prosecuting Republicans like Trump, but he's also suppressing the left. Man, he really is a dictator. It's bipartisan.
Disenfranchised voters in Florida and North Carolina, which is what has happened in the last 2 weeks, is also a risk. And I'm pointing out the fact that we should be practicing democracy, not stifling it.
Just to be clear, you are saying because you think he's unelectable, you believe he's a threat to democracy. So you're ultimately still calling him a threat to democracy.
I will say those who are propagating this delusion that he will beat Donald Trump, they collectively are a threat to democracy. I'm just going to call it like I see it. And that's what the country is saying in every single poll. And if we don't wake up soon, Kristen, we're going to be in for a tragedy. And this time we know it. 2016, we couldn't believe it. This time we better believe it. And that's the truth. I just want to make it clear. He is not a threat. He's a good man and someone I respect. But this delusion that he can win is a threat to democracy, yes.
Everything's a threat to democracy. Aren't you so sick of it? It's like everything that you do everywhere is a threat to democracy. And so, all right, that is this guy. Now, I totally disagree. I think Joe Biden is, at least for the Democratic primary, okay, I don't think he's a threat to anything. I think he's fine. He's capable. I think Democrats, he's your best shot. Look, he already beat Trump once, okay? He can do it again. Yeah, so why don't you just get behind him, okay? Stop this bickering. It's time to unify behind Joe. I don't want to hear any talk about Newsom or Kamala or anybody else or Michelle. Nobody, okay? Joe Biden is perfectly capable of winning the Democratic primary. After that, we'll see who else is next best. But, okay, so my friends, that is it for us on the day. We've got Eric Swalwell orchestrating the press conference, and we'll see if there is any more that comes out. We see some Democrats hitting the panic button. Comer is just finally realizing he got flipped off. We'll see if Congress springs into action. But thank you for joining us on this segment, and thank you for subscribing to our channel. And thanks for signing up for our daily newsletter at robertgovea.com. You can get all of these segments. All the PDFs are available there. They all get bundled up and emailed to you the day after the show. And that way, if you want to forward them to friends or family members, they can see it. We'd love it if you shared our stuff with them. And we'll look forward to seeing you here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We covered some good ground. We've got Hunty and Eric. Mr. Bang Bang hanging out with Hunter, who also, likes to take pictures of himself. Fani got a one-sentence apology plea from Sidney and Kenneth Chesebro, and then got blasted by Scott Hall. And she had a difficult time explaining how this case is going to go, but she did communicate. We also had Elise Stefanik send a letter and a judicial complaint to Judge Beryl Howell out of the DC circuit. And now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. And so thank you for sending in these amazing super chats and donos on YouTube, on Rumble, on Locals. We'll say hello to our friends on X. And then we're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members-only after party. If you want to catch morning streams, we already did a stream this morning. If you want to catch Saturday streams, that's the place to go. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and we'll be there in a minute for our after party. We got some good comments and some very generous donos in the house, and let's see who is here and joining us. We got John McGarvey shared some sandals. Hey, John got some sandals, got some Joe Biden sandals, and you can see Joe Biden is tucked away, sniffing right here himself. Joe is sniffing himself in the sandals. And actually, this one is one of my favorite ones right here, that face right there. So thank you, John, for getting some sandals. And thanks for sharing the photo, my friend. I'm going to save that one, and we'll make sure that we add that to the website. Thank you, John. We got Glenn Croy is here, says, what about me? Oh, bringing in, what about me? Bringing in Nunya Bitness, bringing in 2 Tim 3, bringing in Ann S, and bringing in Cyprian C. Glenn Croy, 5 new membos coming in. Thank you, Glenn, for bringing in the new membos. And my friends, welcome aboard. And YouTube membos, don't forget to join the Telegram group. Navigate over to the community tab section, scroll down, grab the Telegram link, and we'll see you there. Hey, Joe Biden is hanging out with John's feet. Love it. We got this one from Voice of the People. Says, what's hilarious about Newsom is he took a $25 billion surplus, dropped it all the way down to a $68 billion deficit in a few years, and he says he's got the world's best economy. Well, that's Newsom. He just kind of says a lot of stuff. And yeah, man, that was a fun segment this morning, Voice. They're cutting everything, like everything. If you want toilet paper in California and a government building, you better really, really need it, all right? Debbie says here, what's up, Debbie? Bringing in 5 new membos. Aging Cynics coming in. Deanna G, Mitch M, Salty M. Matthew H is also coming in courtesy of Debbie Marie. Debbie, thanks for bringing in 5 new membos. Very generous of you. And thanks for being a membo yourself. It's great to see you today. Knox is here, says, TGIF all. Indeed, indeed. Says, glad we're back to quasi-normal. I found the stream after court, but it felt weird. Felt so weird without the rest of you. Felt like I was stalking Robert or something. Oh, so this morning, Locals, we did like half a stream because Locals was a little off-keister this morning. And so we were a little off-keister. I feel you on that one, Knox. It's good to be back. Hey, Mark Pate. What's up, Mark P? Thank you, Mark. Very nice, Dono. Thanks for sending that in, my friend. I appreciate you doing that. No question on it. But I'm grateful for your support, Mark. Thanks for that. Have a great weekend, my friend. We have this one from Bruce Leroy. What's up, Bruce? Bruce is a membo. Thank you, Bruce, for being a membo and for sending in a nice dono today. Bruce Lee Roy in the house on the tubes. We got this one from What About Me? Oh my gosh, we got a baby in the house. What's up, What About Me? Been a membo for 9 months. We got a little one out, just popped out. Says, full of garbage and don't stop crying. It's a dem or a baby. So if you're full of poo and you don't stop crying, it's either a dem or a baby. Which one is it? Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell. A lot of them. Oh, they have a lot of the same features. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's a good one. Are you dealing with a newborn or are you dealing with a Washington, D.C. voter? Good question. Hard to tell. Good to see you. What About Me? Welcome to our newest baby. We got Michael Woodward is a supporter. What's up, Michael? Thanks for joining as a membo. We'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow for our members only morning stream, and which is Saturday. Yeah, Saturday stream. B-Man is here, says the D.C. jury awarded the election workers from Georgia, what, $148 million? What? Is that like breaking news? Oh my gosh. Giuliani ordered to pay $150 million. We live in like just an insane world. Like it's just like the country is just basically gone. So look at this. Giuliani defamation trial, $150 million, 3 times as much as they were seeking. Wild. Federal jury ordered former New York City Giuliani to pay nearly $150 million to former election workers, Shay Moss, for defaming them. $75 million each for mom and daughter. Incredible. Freeman, though thankful, says money's not going to solve our problems. Well, I don't think Rudy Giuliani has $150 million, but okay. So that's what's happening in this country. Like when you rewind and you're like, what happened to our justice system? What happened to the rule of law? What happened to anything? Well, there you go. $150 million because a couple women got some complaints. All right. So that is what's happening. Absolutely shocking, but not that shocking because what they take out of Jones, $1 billion, something like that. These people are maniacs. And this is why it's important to, oh, speaking of this, look at this. Guess who was the judge involved? Guess who was the judge? U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell. Okay, the same one that Elise Stefanik just issued a complaint against. Awarded a default judgment to the 2 women, so there wasn't even a trial on it. Freeman and Moss, they wanted $15 million. They got $75. You're welcome. An amount in the $40 million range is what they were seeking. He doesn't have any of that money, obviously. Right, so defaming them with false accusations, saying that they committed election fraud. That's it. $150 million because And this is a, this is a warning to everybody else who dares comment on anything. You'll be sued. And what jurisdiction is this out of? Yeah, it's got to be out of D.C. if it's Judge Beryl. So they sued him in Washington, D.C.? That's interesting. Yeah, he's going to present evidence. He's going to appeal the decision. Yeah, this is a judge. So, okay, incredible. So, and that's the jury too. So that's what's happening. Shameful. But that's our justice system. Hope the Democrats are happy about that. Because when the Republicans get in charge, like this is going to devolve. Like there are repercussions that come both ways. It's idiotic, but it's where we are. B-Man, thanks for the update, man. Mark Pate. What's up, Mark? Thank you for another one, Mark. Thank you for sending 2 in, man. 2 donos, Mark. Very generous of you. No questions, but another one. Thanks for doing that. Another one came in from Knox, says, I would avoid the ladies' dinner like the plague, but that's why I will never be a federal judge. Well, Knox, you're a defense attorney. Okay, we run differently than some of those other people there. That's a bunch of, bureaucrats, and I think there were probably some defense attorneys there, but it's a different scene for sure. We'd hang out together, but not with them. Knox says, OMG, I threw up in my mouth a little bit on the Liberty Women pick, and the judge has the worst hair ever. I give her that award. Crap hair, Judge. How's that? Here's Andrea Cummings. What's up, Andrea Cummings? Good to see you as a supporter. Yeah, man. So my former business partner, his last name was Cummings. So shout out to the Cummings last name. It's a good last name. Good to see you, Andrea. Nice to see you. We got Knox Bierman says, why is this a, quote, defense association? They're all prosecutors. Right, they're all AGs. I don't think it is a defense association at all. There might have been some defense attorneys there. I think that they were probably just defending liberal values, defending against insurrection, defending against men, probably white guys, whatever. All right. So Spuds is here, says it's not a circle of friends. It's a whatever that word is. I don't know what that word is. Andrea says, why do they all look like men in women's clothes? No, it's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what was happening there. Maybe it was the camera lens. I think they needed a wide angle. This old guy says, this is the Women's White Collar Democrat Association. I think that's probably right, not defense. Totally nonpartisan. Also, I'd like to point out that Rod Rosenstein is not a woman. Well, that's presuming somebody's gender. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know why he was there. Hey, what's up? Zulu, been a member for 22 months. And Zulu, very nice of you. Thank you for doing the math for me here, because I can never do the calculations. Zulu has it calculated. That's 2.444 repeating babies ad infinitum. That's some serious babies, man. And when you have fractions like that, it exists in eternity. And so the baby is still matriculating, going to be 2.5 any day now. Zulu, thanks for being a member for 22 months, for being here, and for doing the math for us. Very grateful. And have a great weekend to you, my friend. Glenn is here. What's up, Glenn? Bringing in some more membos. Glenn, that's a bunch of membos today. Thank you. We got presidential astronomers coming in. Maria K. Frosted Sleet. We got Selrin. We got Howie Brown is also coming in, courtesy of Glenn Croy. Glenn, thanks for the new membos, man. We're grateful for it. Glenn also said this one. Thank you, Rob, for covering that Judge Beryl Howell. She's pretty rough. That was not a good showing for her. Yeah, and B-Man says, oh, I forgot. It was Judge Howell. She's the judge in the Rudy Giuliani defamation case. And also, Sidney Powell got to keep her Second Amendment rights. And I think that was in the Georgia case is probably what you're talking about from B-Man. We've got this one from Glenn, another one from Glenn. Man, Glenn, you are so generous today. We got Gypsies coming in. Wolves here is coming in. Wolves Lair is coming in. Ooh, Summer La Liberté. Just Cause got a membo. What's up, Just? And Tina Bright also got a membo, courtesy of Glenn Croy. Thank you, Glenn, for bringing in the newest membos. Voice of the People is bringing in some more membos. Thank you, Voice. It's a beautiful Friday. It's a membo extravaganza Friday. We got Maria C., Tom C., Deborah L., Verank Gaming is here, along with Steve C. Thank you, Voice, for the membos. Very nice to have you here. We got Finn Contracting is here. Says, Fani must be really fun at parties. Right, she sounds She sounds like a prosecutor, okay? Honestly, like 28 years, like that's what they sound like. Hey, Fani, how's at a dinner party? Hey, Fani, how are things going? They're fine. Are you working on anything interesting? I don't comment on any active cases. What the hell are you talking about? It's dinner. What are you ordering for lunch? I don't comment on my current appetite. Okay, well, thanks for joining me. All right, so that's from Finn Contracting. She's not that interesting. And great Fani interview. Says, I hope they didn't waste money sending a car for her. And did she infer that the interviewer has been a defendant? I don't know why she kept saying that, but she's like, you should know better, idiot. Stop asking me questions. I can't comment on this stuff. Hey, from Sue's Day says, okay, the Watcher hat is bad A. The Watcher hat is bad A. Thank you for saying that, Sue's Day. That's a Rumble comment. Yeah, man, I dig it. This is my driver, man. This is my daily driver right here. And it's got the Watcher symbol on it. And we put a lot of thought into the Watcher symbol. It's got the sword to cut through the bonds of ignorance. It's got the shield to identify ourselves, just like they did in the Middle Ages. This shield was, a family crest or a tribal crest. The unbalanced scales of justice, symbolizing the current state of our world. And there's a lot more that went into it, like libertas, justitia. These are the ancient symbols, the Roman symbols of justice and liberty, which is combined into the Watcher symbol. And it looks good, man. It feels good. It's nice, solid. It's stitched here in America. It's good stuff. And so thanks for checking those out at robertgovea.com/shop. We got Maria Kathleen says, thanks, Rob. And also, whoever gifted me a membership from Maria. Maria got a membo. Thank you to whoever gave you the membo. Whoever gave Maria the membo, we appreciate you. John C. is a supporter as well. Man, we got some new membos coming in. How fun. What's up, John? So John and new membos, Telegram link in the community tab. That's where the after party is. Otherwise, we'll see you in the morning. Glocky McGlockface is on locals. He says, hey, Rob, if SCOTUS denies Trump immunity, I'm going to file charges against Bush, Cheney's dad, and Obama for war crimes, lying to Congress, conspiracy, profiteering, and murder. Will you help me with the filings? Well, you got to be a prosecutor. So you got to, if you run for office and get elected and become a state AG or something like that, I'm in. Send me a notice. We'll let you know. You'll let me know, and then we'll get into it. We got this one from CF Rob. He says, I wonder if their books on the indictment and blowback made it to the top of the bestsellers list. Everyone's trying to make money off propaganda used against President Trump. They took the indictment and wrote a book about it. Oh, gosh. It's like judicial pornography for their MSNBC viewers. Like, give me a break. Anyways, Rob says, is Eric Swalwell colluding with the Bidens in China? I'd really like to see who else has benefited from all of this. What other money was funneled, let's say, to Obama or others in Congress? That's a great question. He suddenly is a real taking to Hunter. Don't know what that's about. Maybe they were traveling around, palling around with Fang Fang, I mean. Here, Facts Matter says, late, not a binger, and listening to Crazy Cat Lady talk about facts. Welcome, Facts. Facts. She kept saying, facts, facts. We know the facts. Everybody else is an idiot who doesn't. Ain't no cat lady in me, and I think the definition of facts got changed on us. Suggestions ASAPola. Pretty please. Well, I need a new pseudonym ASAP. So what can Facts Matter change her name to? That's a good question, Facts. We're going to have to crowdsource that one. Locals is much smarter than I am. But I see what your point is. Yeah, it's kind of, Judge Beryl kind of, it's still good, okay? Just because Judge Beryl said it doesn't mean you have to change it. We know what you are meaning. She's meaning propaganda. You're meaning facts, not her. Ray K's here. What's up, Ray K? Bringing in new membos. Mrs. Hayes, Salty B, Call Me Legend, Eddie C, and Kimmy G, all coming in courtesy of Ray K in the house. Another one from Tony Hay Munkets. What's up, Tony Hay? Says, would it be possible for Kari Lake to be a senator and a governor at the same time? I don't think so. But it's a fun thought experiment. if you're the governor and you have to appoint a senator, you just appoint yourself the senator. I'll take that job too. Just add it to the title, man. No, just take her name tag and just put it over here. Put it on my desk. I'll take 2. Not a bad thought. Angie says, have an awesome night, Rob and Watching the Watcher family. Angie Warren, 7 months, 2 away from a baby. Have an awesome night to you, Angie. Thanks for being here. And thanks for the hearts, the rose, the high fives, the hugs, and the waves. We're grateful for you, Angie. Thanks for being a nice membo. Hey, this one is from Rocky Water. He says, Rob, we had a deep conversation. You know, previously this week on this channel, we were listening to, reading through some case law. And one of the Supreme Court opinions was, I think, United States versus Cobbledick. Remember that one? And that was a little surprising decision. I wasn't expecting that one just to pop out on us, just to spring up in the middle of a court opinion, you know. But it did. Cobbledick just sprung out of nowhere. And he says, we were talking about the etymology of where it came from, and there's actually some interesting language about this. You think it was an actual dike, okay, like to leave some water, protect some water, or something to do with moving water like a dike would. And it's built out of cobble, right? So it's cobbled dike, and then it got morphed into cobbled dick and all the things. And so now it ended up in the Supreme Court, somebody's last name for whatever reason. And so that's the background. Now, we were talking about it on Locals, and Rocky's saying, Rob, just to wrap this up, just to wrap up on the SCOTUS cobbled dick decision, here's I want to ask you. I wanted to note that the decision was written by Justice Frankfurter, which is incredible. That is all. That's all that you need. Yeah. Thanks as always. Your efforts are muchly appreciated. Keep rocking. So it's perfect. Of course it was. Written by Justice Frankfurter. So thank you, Rocky, for that deep research and that incredible analysis. I would have never figured that out, but it makes it that much more enjoyable and just perfect. Cobbledick, written by Frankfurter. It's perfect. Was it Chief Justice Hot Dog too? All right. Anyway, so here is some guy with cancers joining us. What's up, some guy with cancer? Sorry to hear about that, but I do appreciate you joining us. Says, I need to just sue someone to the right of Stalin in a Democrat stronghold. Retirement. Here I come. You're right about that. You're right about that. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities here. If the Democrats are just going to be suing, prosecuting everybody, forum shopping in different jurisdictions and locations, you just gotta figure it out. And yeah, to the right of Stalin into a Democrat stronghold, and you will win, because that's what's happening in DC, New York, and elsewhere. Hey, what's up? John C is bringing in a new membo. Scott M is coming in. Super Buff is here. He says, how can they charge Rudy when stuff like this comes out? He's sharing a link over to a link that I'll let you watch on your own time. How can they charge Rudy when stuff like this comes out? So it's a defamation charge, right? So it's not an actual criminal charge. It's a civil lawsuit. And they're just saying that they were not public officials. So the defamation standard is a lot lower. And they sued him in a regular, in a bad forum, where with a bad judge, she entered default, and it really doesn't matter what the truth is, okay? It's just basically a setup. Hey, Maria Kathleen says, dumb question. Where is the community tab? So it's right here. Thank you for that. This came over from Zach Nichols. It's right there on the homepage. So thank you, Zach, for clipping that for us, man. Grateful. And it's right there. It's the last section. So just scroll on down. You can grab the Telegram link. And Tony Hay says, I was meaning that if she becomes senator and proves that she won the governor election. Oh, I see. So technically the answer, is obviously no. Like, she can't have two positions. But I see what you're meaning in spirit, right? So if she becomes a senator, she could show that, the actual, through whatever evidence she was able to gather, that she could say that I had originally won because onesie twosie Bill Gates rigged it. All right. Anyways, so that's from Tony. Hey, good to see you, Tony. Great questions, my friends. Thank you so much for the lovely comments and the amazing donos. And I'm grateful for everything that came in today. Now, we're going to say what's up to our friends on X. We're going to say hello, and then we're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members-only after party. Our friends on Rumble, we got a job done well. We got White Sparrows over there. We see Super Buff, Dance Master 2016's in the house. Good to see you over there. Let's see what's cooking on the X platform. We got some nice people here joining in. And here on the show, it's a Friday. It's a little bit lighter than usual. We got 10 viewers on the X platform. 10 viewers on the X. And we're grateful, man. It's double digits. We're happy to see that. Hey, Domainer is saying, Rob, they're trying to take Trump off the ballot here in Maine today. That's not good. A hearing in Maine, part of an effort to keep Trump off the ballot. They're failing on those, right? They're trying this a lot, and they're not getting a good job on it. Other side of the mountain said, if the connection between the repression of speech and authoritarianism is new to Howell, then I guess she never read George Orwell's 1984. What's up, George? Linking us, tagging Kid Rock and Trump Jr. and Byron Donalds. Goofy for Jesus says an apology letter written on a chalkboard 100 times. I apologize for my actions, like Bart Simpson. I apologize for my actions. George says Hunty Poo looks like he's gained a little weight. Maybe it's the stress from the drug testing. Have a great weekend, Rob. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know who's peeing in the cup or whether he's doing that or whatever. But there was coke at the White House. Nathan said 146 million judgment. Coven is a group of witches. Oh, I did not know that word. Coven is a group of gathering of witches. I don't have a lot of witch experience, but that's a good word to know. Hey, what does Monaco, Howell, Wolf, Chutkin, Lynch, and Rumler all have in common? They're all women. And Catherine Rumler got $17 million. Wow. Goldman Sachs or something like that? Yeah, Goldman Sachs. That's some good money, man. Okay, so we got 12 viewers over on X now, my friends. If you want to follow us on X and drop some comments over there and follow your other friends out there in the wild on the X platform. My follow is Rob Govea ESQ. We also have a Watching the Watchers community, which looks like this. You can navigate over there and find some other watchers out there in the wild on the X platform. And we love seeing you out there. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. It's been a beautiful week. Before we wrap it up, I want to thank our mods and meme smiths who keep things nice and orderly on the day and throughout the week. Our friends, Vienticus Prime, K Bean in the house, Just Cause, we got Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, Zulu, Beyond Geo, Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janik, Dog Digger, and Donut Mind Me, modding down the fort for us. And we appreciate Zach clipping away for us on the day, along with John, Hunter's Crack Dealer Allen in the house. Sleepy Dog Lee, Jeegum Geegum, and Nathan N810 are meme smiths extraordinaires, memeing the fort down for us. My friends, that is it for us on the day. We had a new membo just come in, Marion Holtzman. Welcome, Marion. Thanks for being a lovely membo. Nice to see you join us. We'll see you in the after party and over on the locals. Yeah, and so we've got some other comments out there as well. And so we will leave it there, my friends. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. And so I want to thank you for joining us. It's been an incredible week. We've covered a lot of ground, but we are done for the week. Now, that's good because we do need to unplug and recharge our energy battery tanks and refuel and spend time with the people that we love and the friends that we care about and get outside. It's a little chilly out these days here in North America, but it is sunshine out sometimes, and it's good to get some vitamin D, to get some fresh air, to get some movement in that body so that we can recharge and come back next week restored and ready to go. And when we do, we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful weekend, my friends, and make it an incredible night. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.